Hello there and a very warm welcome to another edition of the program. I'm Victor Matthias. Nigerian workers have never in history gotten an increase in wage on a platter of gold. Rather, it has always been gotten through confrontations with the powers that be and the government of the day. However, with the increase in wages comes increase in the price of commodities as well as the standards of living. And that will be our focus on the program today. But we will first take a look at what made the trends in the social cyberspace in the past week.
Heir to the British throne, Prince Charles and his wife Camilla, the Duchess of Cornwall, visited Nigeria as part of a tour of 3 African countries. The royal couple were given a state reception at the presidential villa in Abuja and afterwards met with traditional rulers in Abuja and some Nigerians in Lagos. Nigeria's information minister drew the ire of citizens when he mentioned during a press briefing that detained leader of the Islamic movement of Nigeria, Sheikh El-Zakzaky, is fed by the government with the sum of 3.5 million naira monthly.
Well, there you go. Those were the trends in the past week. But joining us now to look at the topic of the day, we had Jude Egbas. He is an editor with an online media, Pulse.ng. Thanks for joining us in the program.
Yeah, good afternoon. Nice to be here.
Of course. We also have Seun Ogunbure, a public affairs analyst. Seun, thanks as well for being on the program.
Thank you.
We have joining us via the Google Plus Hangout, we have Lami Akpejoye. She joins us from Abuja, Nigeria's Federal Capital Territory. It's a pleasure to have you on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Very well. I mean, these 2 young men here are gentle, of course, so I'm sure they would want you to, go first, as they say, ladies first. So kicks out this conversation for us. I mean, the minimum wage, the president has, or the Labour has moved or forwarded, the figures, in between, and the president is proposing 30,000 naira, and he's forwarding that to the National Assembly. But, over time, I mean, that has been happening from, I think, 125 naira, minimum wage back in the 70s. Now it's 30,000 naira. I mean, what usually happens when these things come aboard? I mean, because some say that inflation will come in place. Do you agree?
Yes, I do agree. First of all, I trust that the road transport workers will hike their price. Say, for instance, if you were, taking a bus for 100 naira, and now that they know that the minimum wage has been increased, they'll probably start doing 200 or, 250. So typically these things happen, and then the average market, woman will obviously want to hike a price, and the price of goods generally just happens. That's how our society is set up. So yes, I do foresee that inflation will come. How heavy that would be, I don't know, but definitely yes, there'll be a hike in price in goods and services generally across the country.
Let's wait and see when that price hike is, or when that increase eventually comes into place. But one thing is the fact that, anytime there is an increase in minimum wage, there is always this back and forth between Labour and government. Why do we have this?
First, I found it very embarrassing that we had this back and forth because, come to think of it, 30,000 is just a little below $80. That's the minimum a Nigerian worker should earn. And we had this prolonged debate between Labour and government, like you said, and I was wondering, why are we having... And then Labour threatened to go on strike on November 6th. The federal government said, okay, let's have this tripartite committee come to the State House, submit their report. And Labour leaves the State House. We thought 30,000 naira had been agreed, only for the federal government to say nothing was said about 30,000 naira. So what exactly is going on? It looks like, once again, Labour has been dealt a short end of the stick, and I don't think we should be we should be debating 30,000 naira the way we did for 2-3 months. I mean, it was really embarrassing.
Ishun, what do you think about that?
Well, like Jude said, between you and I, we know 30,000 cannot take anybody home. Recently, I had to engage a cleaning service company for a startup for a friend, and they sent us a bill for what they would charge, and they said they were going to charge 60,000 per staff. And yeah, we did our background check, and we found out that that company actually pays its staff 17,000 naira monthly, which is even below the minimum wage that is set.
The current one.
The current one. Now, like Lami said on our end about inflation, I'm going to approach this from an economist point of view. Now, increasing minimum wage means government expenditure would go up, which is good for the GDP, because the components of the GDP is the consumer expenditure, the investment expenditure, and the government expenditure. Now, this is in every economy, we have three players. We have the government, we have the household, which is the producer of labor, and then we have the investors. Now, there's a circular flow of income in microeconomics. This is how it works. The household provides labor to the firm. The firm pays the household, they pay them wages, and they pay them salaries. Now, the firm produces goods and services and sell it back to the household or the individuals to buy. Now, if the household, who is the price dictator in the labor market, if they increase their price, the firm have no choice than to buy. And what that does is two things. They either downsize, which increases unemployment, or what they also do is that they increase the price of their final products that goes back to the household. So it's one way or the other brings about more inflation to the economy. So it's not a very good time, except the government is willing to step in to say that, yes, market forces, especially on consumer goods, to say, okay, we need you to shaping up this. That is when that take home will actually be beneficial to the populace.
All right, so let's even look at the Consumer Protection Council. I mean, can they regulate the prices of goods in the policy?
I don't even want to go with the school of thought that says that increasing minimum wage is going to break inflation, because we are earning. I mean, civil servants are earning less. I mean, below what they should be earning normally, as it were. I mean, given the fact that we increased the price of petrol the way we did, I mean, a couple of months ago, minimum wage should have gone up at that time, because the purchasing power of the average Nigerian has gone down. And
it was weakened.
It was weakened. So this 13,000 naira is long overdue. And minimum wage is reviewed, let's say three years or thereabout. The last time it was reviewed, 18,000 naira was under Goodluck Jonathan. We should have reviewed it the moment the price of petrol went up, because petrol affects the life of every Nigerian. It's basically what we live on. We practically drink it, which is why there's always a debate about what we should do with it, So let's give workers their due. At the same time, going forward, we shouldn't allow it get to a point where labor and government have to now start bickering, and then there's a threat of a strike before we review it. We should review it when it should be reviewed.